Altspace. And welcome to one of our oldest Unity studio that I made here in Altspace. Today we are looking back at not only the history of AltspaceVR, but also using updates. Okay, but the first thing I want to do is to give a shout out to one Altspacer who's been coming to news and updates. Can't say how long, but when she heard the news that we would be going to engage, the reaction was amazing. And I just want to share that reaction to you all amazing now. Thank you, Roxanne, for that brilliant. That was I wasn't going to think I was going to see that reaction. Thank you for that. Thank you for posting that video. So it was amazing to see that. If you want to record the next segment, feel free. I'll give you some time to record, because next up, as we announced last week, we will be going to engage. The next video, it will explain, will be the date of when we'll be having our first event in Engage. So without further ado, here we go. Yes, we'll be coming back on April 7th in Engage. We will be posting the events in our Discord for when that will be happening. So we are taking a break. Due to the daylight savings time that we have, that messes up everyone's events. So we're going to bypass all that. We're going to go straight into April, and April 7th will be the first event. So as I mentioned, today we are looking back at the history of AltspaceVR and, of course, news and updates. This is our retrospective. A lot of work has gone in to that for today's show. So, unfortunately, we didn't bring any virtual tissues with us. Hopefully you brought your own. So please welcome to the stage Laurel, Marsha, and Karen, not that Karen.
All right. Oh. Oh, wow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And
Thank you.
wow. And thank you to everyone in room 2. I think we might even get room 3 today. We're going to see what happens. Wow. You know, I hope you're giving many of those beautiful, beautiful emojis to yourself too, because that
Absolutely.
is, you know, it's because of you that we're here, and we're going to do our very best not to get over emotional about all of this, but we can't help it. So welcome everyone, and hello to the news and updates. This is okay, Marsha, drum roll me, please.
This is
Drum
our
me, drum
last.
me. Drum roll me, Marsha.
Thank
you.
Wait,
Thank
wait, wait,
you.
wait! I can do it better. I can do it better.
Yes. This is our 225th episode. Whoa! Yeah.
Oh,
225.
wow.
Yeah. And
Yes, wow!
it's
This is
amazing.
our. Yes, it's a wow. Do we have a wow emoji? This is our
I wish.
last show in Altspace VR before we move on to our next platform, Engage XR. We're so excited to be continuing to bring you the news and updates from around the metaverse and beyond, and bringing all of you along for the ride.
Since 2018, we've covered the life and community of Altspace VR. Our shows are archives of its ups and downs, trials and tribulations, and great celebrations.
So we decided to dedicate this show to the history of Altspace VR, which is actually the history of us, all of us. From the first days of the platform to the last. This is our story. It begins with this studio. Look around. What we call Studio 3, the third iteration. He always had an iteration of Mark's very own news and updates.
Yeah. Wow, this brings back such memories. Don't worry, version 5.5 is still with us. It's been ported to Engage XR, where we will be continuing. We just wanted to take you back in time to the studio that we used for the longest. And boy, do we have fun memories here. Wow. After the show, please explore the space, including, if you're lucky, our secret passageway to the green room.
Oh, and don't get
They
lost.
just were introduced to it.
Yes, and I already got lost.
I got lost too.
Yeah.
As we say every week, We are not Altspace VR or Microsoft employees. We are volunteers and community members, which means we bring a unique perspective to the news. Our perspective is one of you.
And as always, this event is
As
being
is
filmed on our news and updates YouTube and Twitch channels after the show, along with its archives going back to 2018.
So, as Mark beautifully described it last week, this isn't goodbye. It's until we meet again. It's that moment. We will meet again in Engage in April, so get ready. There will be new people to meet and old friends to find in the metaverse, and we will be exploring this all together.
Okay, now we're going to bring you some history of our beloved News and Updates show. In 2018, Mark wanted to give back to the community that had embraced him. He wanted to develop a news show, keep the Altspace VR community up to date and informed.
Others had tried and failed before him. But from the first, Mark decided the show would be community news first. The news you need to know first. The rest of the metaverse, then the rest of the metaverse. We've kept that commitment all these years.
Oops. I'm sorry, did anybody hear that? Was I
No.
muted? No. Okay. So up on the screen is the first studio that Mark created. And honestly, so you got a chance to see it now twice here. I'm sorry about that. He is such a brave soul because he thought in 2018, he thought he could film the event and present the news by himself while in
Oh.
his headset, holding all of the information just in his head. Now he's got a big head, but that's still.
Long experienced in radio, television, and podcasting, Laurel stepped up and stepped in to help guide him. It was then they decided that presenting while in 2D was the best solution. And the two of them opened their very first news script in Google Docs that week, just as we still do, coloring the text for each person in a giant outline to help us keep on track.
Soon, the team expanded to include other hosts. JW, Don, several others stepped up, and eventually Donna McTee joined Laurel as co-host, allowing Mark to step off the stage and manage all the production stuff.
Karen joined us as a host in September 2021, replacing Donna. Thank you, Karen, for stepping up at the last minute with no experience. We love having you on the show and appreciate all you do to make it fun for everyone.
And as mentioned last week, it took 6 people to replace Karen last summer when she was traveling, and we all wore hats to honor her. That was fun. That was when Marcia decided to stick around and make this a party for 3. We love having you with us, Marcia, especially with those sound effects. So Halloween will never be the same without you. That's for sure.
Well, I love it. Thank you. Thank you for including me. This has been so much fun. My time in here has been the thrill of my life.
Thanks.
So Mark is our producer, script reviewer, media manager, filmer, marketeer, and janitor for news and updates. On the screen is a behind-the-scenes look at Mark's home office. Mark has 2 computers, a laptop and a desktop, and he recently updated his dual monitor setup to feature a 49-inch giant curved monitor to help him with his world building and production responsibilities. Makes game playing a game-changing experience too.
Game changing. Working with Laurel and Steph on the script, Mark puts together the slideshows to illustrate all of the stories we cover to ensure you get the best show possible.
Then Mark dons his director's hat. He films and streams the show live and controls the web projector screens behind us, all from inside of his headset in 3D. Then he releases the video to the public on YouTube, and we're often already working on next week's show before this one is over. It's a lot of work.
Let's not forget, he also built all of the studios.
That's right. Our
Mhm.
first studio was way too big. It was huge, and the audience was way too far away. Mark used the new World Editor to create a more personalized studio, starting with a series of studios that changed every year or two on the anniversary of the shows. And you're getting a chance to see some of this, behind the scenes history here. And it led him to dive very, very deeply into Unity to create this studio in 2019.
The evolution of Unity and Altspace VR and the News and Update Studio were literally connected at the hip. Altspace VR continued to support more recent versions of Unity than other platforms. With each update, Mark has been working hard to keep the studio looking fresh and professional.
When I look at these videos and I think about everything that we have done here, bringing you the news literally tirelessly every Saturday with rarely a break throughout the year, we're really proud of ourselves. And in a moment, we're going to have some great numbers to share as you see all the evolution of this. That's the studio on the screen is the one just after this one, which led to the one that we're in right now.
Yeah.
He did some amazing things, including having the reflection in the desktop as you see the monitor down in there and stuff. Really some state-of-the-art world building here. It's where we hide in the background. All right. So here's some stats. Here's our numbers. Marsha.
All right. Since 2018, the News and Update show has produced 225 one-hour episodes.
Wow.
Over 370 hours of video have been recorded and uploaded to YouTube. 370 hours.
Wow. And more than 13,000 attendees have sat through 7,500 pages of script, 1.5 million script words, thank you, Laurel, and 15,090 slide images.
I'm wondering if he counted them.
He did,
And
trust
we
me.
ain't done yet.
No.
Our moderators have been with us mostly since the beginning. Stands with Trees, Karen 666, Lance, Steph, and here is Ancient I Won't Say next to his famous earthquake machine, believed to be the first of its kind in the metaverse. Such amazing and gifted people. It takes a village to do this show. Many of our moderators came here to learn and continue to host their own shows. We are so grateful to all of you for giving up your time every week to support this show.
We'd also like to thank all of the Altspace VR staff who gave up their Saturdays to be interviewed and join us on the stage. They've helped answer questions and shared their love of Altspace VR with us so many times over the years.
We'd also like to we've the list of people who've moderated here is very long, and we have some of them that some of our old moderators are here. Serenity, Lisa, and Bart have been working with us since nearly the beginning. We want to thank you also for being here and for helping to support the show. We also there's so many people we want to thank, and we just don't have enough time. But all of this brings us back to the stories that we've covered here on News and Updates since 2018. Now, as Mark said, this is our perspective, and we cannot cover all of this because we only have so much time. And so we worked very hard to prune this down. Here is our look back into the historical news from the Altspace VR community during our annual Altspace VR anniversaries and beyond.
Hey, we're going to start here with 2015. So, Altspace VR is considered the first social platform for virtual reality. Launched in beta in September of 2015, Altspace VR created waves in the tech industry as a place where experimentation with virtual reality was explored to its wildest dreams. And the experience was truly immersive, a true first person experience. It felt real. It was promoted as the social media and meetup tool of the future.
When the platform began, it supported the Oculus Rift, Leap Magic, Leap Motion, and a couple other commercial quality headsets. In September 2015, while still in beta test, they announced 2D access for Windows and Mac for use with a mouse or gamepad.
By 2019, Altspace VR was one of the first social VR platforms to support Android phones and tablets. And the widest range of VR headsets, including the Samsung Gear, Google Cardboard with a gamepad, Google Daydream, Oculus Go, and then later the Quest and the rest of the headsets still in use today.
Altspace VR was one of the first social VR platforms to offer full body tracking support with the Kinect, Magic Leap, and other tethered headsets with external tracking hardware. People taught dance classes, acting, karate, and had great fun with articulated arms and legs. With the arrival of the Oculus Quest, that feature was removed, unfortunately.
The personal space bubble was a first, allowing people to be invisible if they got too close. It was one of many powerful features Altspace VR added to the start to ensure our safety and security in the social VR space.
Altspace VR was also the first social VR platform to develop a mirrored event system that could host hundreds of duplicate event rooms, allowing speakers to broadcast to thousands of attendees at once. Front Row underwent several upgrades and continues to be a standard that few other platforms have emulated successfully.
Mm-hmm. For the majority of its life, Altspace VR listened to input from the community, and that input helped make the platform more capable and flexible. The powerful event hosting and moderation tools are still like no other platform, allowing the moderators and the host to command the stage from their menu without chasing people around and tagging them through their name tags. Remember those days?
Shane created Shane's editor by using A-Frame and JavaScript to help the community build easier and faster as Altspace VR continued to work on their SDK. People began bringing in worlds and objects from Unity, and world building exploded into life.
Amazing interactive worlds were shared with everyone, including The Flappy Dragon by Thomas Kedleck, where you could pilot a dragon through traps in a village. And Interstellar Defense by SM Sith Lord put you in control of the last line of defense between Earth and its invaders.
The Great Jungle Maze and Frisbee Golf soon followed, as well as the popular house party, complete with interactive burgers and pizza that made noises, including a belch.
Oh, dear.
Sound. Well, when you took a bite. To make things easier for builders, AltspaceVR began work on a new drag and drop editor called the World Editor.
World building thrived with people creating innovative and interactive worlds to represent real world experiences as well as fantasy. Science fiction and outer space as well as underwater took off in Altspace VR.
Gamers and games found their way into Altspace VR. In 2016, Altspace brought the official Dungeons and Dragons to the platform, complete with customized interfaces and game board.
God, I remember those. Yes, by 2016, we had chess. Oh, miss it. Poker and holograms against humanity. That nasty, nasty interactive adult card game. Whole lives were wasted playing that game for hours on end, and great relationships started. You know who you are.
In 2019, we got Alt Quiz, which was originally developed by Ben G and integrated into Altspace VR. One of many projects that he brought to us. What fun that Jeopardy style quiz game was for so many of us.
That was not long before MREs were common and people could bring in all kinds of interactable games. Ah, the early days.
Major events arrived in Altspace VR from the very beginning. Reggie Watts, American comedian, actor, beatboxer, and musician, had been a long-time fan of Altspace VR. He performed live here with full body tracking and a custom avatar. His first performance in May of 2016 was reported to be the largest crowd ever assembled in VR history, with over 1,200 attendees using Altspace VR's new front row feature.
Reggie performed most Januaries during his slow times between concert tours and his last night show, drawing thousands to Altspace VR. At the beginning of the pandemic, he extended his concerts to every 8 weeks, having a wonderful time with everyone in numerous events and breaking even more metaverse records.
NBC News partnered with Altspace VR to host live events several times, like the coverage of the 2016 U.S. presidential election that included a recreation of the NBC News Democracy Plaza at New York's Rockefeller Center World, complete with a live AI rocker and election map.
Roker.
Roker. Oh,
Al Roker.
Oh, Al Roker. I got AI on the mic.
Hey, he was a rocker.
Everybody's thinking AI. Al Roker.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, sorry, Al. Okay. So NBC then followed up. Boy, how language can change with you. NBC followed up with a series in 2017 called Mach in VR about science and technology that brought in David Freeman and Bill Nye the Science Guy to Altspace VR. Yay! It didn't last long because the network canceled it, but it encouraged other television and media companies to join the Altspace VR show bandwagon.
Oh, all those were good old days. People entering Altspace VR today think they are pioneers, but there were thousands of us here back in 2017 and 2018.
Mm-hmm. In 2017, Altspace VR was the first metaverse platform to support live captioning and translation. First announced in 2017, it arrived for testing in 2020, only to be halted in 2021 due to the rearranging of the mixed reality departments at Microsoft. It was magic. While it was activated, it allowed us to talk to people in our language while understanding theirs. Oh,
That was fun.
It was cool.
You know, continuing with first, Altspace VR introduced party portals, which we just call portals now, to teleport a group across a space and time, well, virtual space, to events and worlds. Beam me up. Scotty.
Yay!
Emojis. Oh, how we love our emojis. And don't you wish other platforms had the same quick access to visual emotional responses? We miss them when we explore other platforms.
No joke. No joke. Now, we when Altspace VR began, you entered a lobby where you were welcomed by staff and invited to explore worlds and attend events. In 2017, they introduced a campfire as a replacement for the lobby.
The campfire became the new hangout, featuring a roaring fire where you could roast marshmallows on sticks and just have a great time. We loved it, and many made it their new hangout. Well, until the kids moved in, used the marshmallow sticks as swords, and ran rampant.
But it was really magical. Altspace VR staff even created seasonal changes for fall, spring, summer, and winter. And then they introduced the interactables. We had huge snowball fights in the winter version. Almost everyone loved it. Campfire was the place to meet people. That is, before it became too wild and toxic.
Yeah, let's take a moment to remember another public space. Remember this one? We had such great adventures in the much beloved common area known as Pirates Cove. God, at the time, it was one of the most advanced Unity projects ever brought into Altspace VR, and it was open to the public as a commons area. We flew around the pirate ship along docks, in and out of the amazing shacks. It too was very magical. That was wonderful.
The best thing we do here in Altspace VR is meet and greet and express our creativity. Watch parties were so important in 2017, not only to watch streams from conferences, but also for covering current events. Many of us watch weather reports of hurricanes, election reports, and other important global news coverage together, bonding even closer as we shared those moments and discussions.
The Rocket Party was a mainstay event here too, often filling multiple front row rooms to watch the launch of shuttles, spaceships, satellites, and more. Maintained for years by Altspace VR staff and later continued by the community, these were the most popular non-celebrity events in Altspace VR.
The community also formed a very close relationship with the Altspace VR staff, participating in town halls and community potlucks. Keegan, the program owner, also known as Katie Law, held weekly socials dubbed the Mingle and Chill to listen to concerns or just talk to us.
Now, back when Altspace VR supported Android's phones, I used to drop in to the Mingle while driving or when I had to fly long hours for work. I love talking to Katie and their group from virtually anywhere. I mean, how many people can say they were in Altspace VR while driving and flying at the same time?
Keep your eyes on the road and the sky.
Yeah.
Altspace VR has hosted just about every type of event, and some you might never have experienced in the real world.
For a few years, Laurel, Stevie, and Dalbeth hosted Doctor Who meetups inside one of the coolest event spaces in the metaverse. We landed next to a TARDIS phone booth box and went inside a giant red Dalek to watch some of the old original episodes and talk about the latest shows in history of the longest running TV show in the world.
Favorite oddball events included Spooky Sundays, flying around a scary world on a broom. We also enjoyed DJ Vortex's amazing tribute to the original computer game Zork, Pun Days, an event to practice puns, or the Flippers, an event dedicated to house flipping schemes.
That sounds
Oh,
weird
and
in VR, doesn't it?
it does. And the sensory deprivation float tank in Altspace VR was amazing. Another favorite, garage sale finds, focused on making money from garage sales and thrift shop discoveries. There were tons of blockchain and crypto events, comic book and cartoon talk shows, entrepreneur events, book launches, the Ducks Crossing games, Star Trek fan meetups and world tours, Star Wars reenactments, karaoke of all kinds. The creativity of events in VR has been just amazing.
David, a longtime beloved Altspace VR pioneer, loved to build worlds for entertainment, eventually starting his own informal entertainment company to the highlights of performers and talent in Altspace VR. For several years before health issues got in the way, David hosted film watch parties, theater nights, and concerts featuring Youngji, John, and so many others who've gone on to host their own concerts.
Wow, miss him. Get social with Andy. Andy Fidel changed Altspace VR forever with their innovative events. As a leader in social VR media, Andy experimented here in Altspace VR and on other platforms for many years, including the first 24 hours a day, month-long Winterfest in Altspace VR. They also helped found Women in VR and other professional groups here to help formalize the industry. And Andy continues to be a driving force in the social VR industry. You can see her on Rec Group.
Oh, and there were the adult events, which we chose not to feature here on News and Updates due to their adult, even X-rated content. We knew those seeking those events would find them. However, uncensored, the VR sexologist, sex tech, and many more were events that took sexuality seriously, making the taboo subject more understandable for the masses.
About the same time as News and Updates launched, Altspace VR decided to honor those who contributed and stayed the longest on the platform with a green name tag border that designated them a community leader.
Some wanted the honor, others were given it without being told or even asked permission, and which soon gave it a feeling of importance without value. Eventually, the community let the staff know how they felt about it, and after a bit of a furor, as communities are wont to do, Altspace VR replaced community leader with community helper.
They formalized the program with specific qualifications, which many still mistook as the rules of a game to earn a badge, missing that the recognition was only to identify experienced volunteers who were helping to welcome newcomers into the community.
JW was working with Altspace VR on training programs and standards for community helpers and invited Laurel to help them organize and develop the programs. Altspace VR 101 introduction was born, which Laurel pruned down from over 2 hours to 1 hour, then to 30 minutes over the next few months with the help of Altspace VR staff. A lot of
The
pruning.
Altspace VR 101 event became an introduction to the platform and the community, encouraging people to connect with each other and find their tribe, teaching them how to make that community their own through world building and participating events, even how to start volunteering. It was a beautiful leadership program, giving many who felt they had no voice a chance to not only be heard, but to shine and grow.
Let's give some credit, big credit, to Mark, Donna McTee, Lance, Stands with Trees for keeping the Altspace VR 101 events going ever since. And kudos to Karen and Gabriela for translating the event into Spanish for the last 6 months of the program. That was amazing. Thank you.
Look at all the hearts.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, Altspace VR reality shown Brightest I'm going to say that over again. In 2018, Altspace VR really shone brightest when the whole community was involved. Laurel, Homer, Tony Films, and staff member Kaylin met to discuss the idea of community-wide Halloween maze events. It was such a success. It's been repeated every year since.
That first maze took 4 world builders 10 days to build 6 worlds. There were 4 events during that Halloween week and then another event on New Year's Day. We recruited over 75 people to haunt the worlds and the visitors.
Many of you have heard a lot of the stories, so I'm going to keep this brief. But when the day of the event arrived, we were quite worn out and stressed, and then shocked when Homer reported that the Halloween maze was listed on the Oculus public calendar. There were over 800 RSVPs.
Oh,
Throughout the day, the number kept growing and growing, passing over 1,000. The event was
wow.
not set for front row or designed for front row or that many people. But thanks to the determination of the Altspace VR staff and all the volunteers, we survived it, and people still are talking about it. And honestly, I could not have survived it without Mark. Seriously. God, it was insane.
Oh, about 3 or 4,000 people passed through those worlds the first 2 years. We have no idea how many more have visited them since.
Those worlds created during that first Halloween event are still available today. They were toured recently as part of our tribute to the history of world building in Altspace VR. They pushed the boundaries of world building with concepts and techniques we continue to use today.
The incredible Halloween event was followed immediately by the first parade float event in Altspace VR to honor Thanksgiving. And I know some of you out there built some of these. The community was invited to participate and had over 24 world submissions with such incredible creativity. It was inspiring. Thousands have toured those worlds, still open to the public in the Thanksgiving Parade Hub.
Wow. We've celebrated so many holidays and festivals in Altspace VR, including the LGBTQ plus and Friends Parade, that float competitions that ran for a few days during Pride Month.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, Hanukkah, Independence Day, La Posada, Lunar New Year, all countries. Any reason is a season for a part. Any reason and a season for a party is magic for the Altspace VR community.
Mm-hmm. Now, we started the World Building Meetups with the Community Helpers program that year, offering programs to teach people how to use the World Editor and build their own worlds. We were also meeting to discuss new ideas and new features on a regular basis at events that eventually morphed into the Wednesday World Tours with Karen 666, Karen, Mark, and myself, and a whole team of passionate world builders.
Many of those worlds we made with the first kits and a ton of imagination, which still exists today, surviving most of the Unity and Altspace VR updates. Despite working with constraints, or maybe because of them, we push the limits of world building. You'll see some of those historic worlds this Wednesday at the last World Tour event.
So many worlds and so little time to discuss even a tiny fraction of them. World builders like Alan Cho, Assis, Rockside, and so many others inspired us and created some of the most powerful worlds that still persist in our memory, like Assis's space basketball court, Alan's Brooklyn rooftop hangout, and his great beehive demo, and Peroxide's amazing otherworldly spirit cave, preserved by Tommy, that still haunts many of our dreams.
Mine in particular. And the worlds we built for events. Mark, you remember the Queen Screen events? Yeah. Oh, we love them. Every Saturday, Mark and I and a few friends, we moderated the sing-along video event featuring Queen songs. It was so much fun. And seriously, we were such children. It was one of the many world building collaborations that we did in 2018 and 2019. Mark was the biggest child, definitely. Between all of us, the event space featured two British flags as the dance floor and a giant stage for hosting the video. We had such a great time singing our lungs out to Bohemian Rhapsody, Bicycle, and We Are the Champions. I love that. Those were the best days, seriously.
Those were the days.
Yes.
So many worlds, so many events, so little time today to share them all with you. Who else has walked through our virtual doors? Let's see. Drew Carey, Matt Lohman, Justin Rowland of Rick and Morty. Is it Royland?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Royland.
Justin Roiland of Rick and Morty. Janine Garofalo, and so many comedians, even drag queens from New York, brought their shows here into Altspace. We've had movie stars, television stars, directors, producers, comedians, singers, so many.
Vivian. Vivian brought us The Hive in 2018, interviewing leaders in the tech industry. She also worked with the Altspace VR events staff to bring, I know some of you may remember us, to bring the first Beat Saber demo right inside of Altspace VR for a competition. That was amazing experience.
Oh. Veer brought their TV show to Altspace VR. Jesse Diamani's Tech Talk, I remember that, and CNN, Forbes, NBC, ABC, and other famous news media shows from around the world came to Altspace VR and interviewed the community to learn more about the metaverse and its potential. We've shared many of those news stories with you over the years.
The first few years of Altspace VR and a few employees and celebrities were gifted. They were gifted their own custom avatars to show the future flexibility of the platform for avatar customization, a path we all wish they'd stayed on.
2019 was a huge year for Altspace VR, a year of the remodel. To comply with Oculus Store's new guidelines to support the new Quest 1, Altspace VR had to decide to shut down, like many other platforms, in order to remodel the infrastructure and avatars, or do it while the platform kept running. They chose the latter, to our joy.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's remember back when our avatars were robots and stick-figured human beings that looked fairly anorexic.
I love that giant square jaw look.
Well, you know what? We didn't care what we looked like. We had robots and male and female, and we had people things.
Yeah, let's not forget our beloved Bee-Bot. When the first time I saw that, I couldn't figure out what it was. That was a yellow drone-like ball avatar, and those wonderful ribbon avatars that lit up when a person talked.
Oh God, people loved their avatars. Many were angry and claimed they were quitting the platform forever over the changes. Okay, most didn't, but it continued to thrive here even with the challenges and all of the changes.
Change is hard. People don't like it.
I know, but I believe that change is inevitable. Growth is optional. Only bitching and whining is eternal.
So true.
Yeah.
So Altspace VR
Eternal.
staff held meetings and consulted with the community through the whole avatar changing process, explaining that an avatar downgrade was temporary, but that they would henceforth only be human. The robot avatars rebelled. Oh, I remember that. And Altspace VR relented, keeping two generic robots.
And we got over it, and life in Altspace VR moved on. December 2019 brought us the Altspace VR Info Zone. At the beginning of Altspace VR, we had the lobby, then the campfire as an open common area. There wasn't enough for the old timers who just still wanted an informational lobby to welcome new users, to introduce them to our community. The community helpers petitioned Altspace VR for over a year.
We wanted a professional greeting area to meet newcomers and welcome them into all of the potential of the events platform for adults. Now, what arrived at the end of 2019 was a circus festival called the Info Zone.
Oh, that's so true. With the info zone came the biggest change in Altspace VR. Guests were no longer allowed to range freely around Altspace. Registration was required to comply with international laws passed in 2018. So they were a little late to the game. This change changed Altspace VR in so many ways. It would take a book to write about it all. But what it did do was stop most troublemakers at the gate.
When we saw the avatar represented in the new InfoZone, we should have had a clue as to what was coming with the avatar remodel. We thought them silly and too cartoonish. We were so wrong.
That's so true.
Were we? Yeah. When the new avatars arrived in July 2020, the show that week started out with, "It feels like we're getting to know each other all over again," which has opened up some interesting experiences because nobody looked like themselves. And yet, you know what? We did.
It's so true.
The new avatars arrived bringing the addition of animated eyes and the loss of legs.
We still miss our legs, kind of.
Oh, but oh, those eyes.
Yeah, that's right. The eyes were one of the biggest accomplishments of the Altspace VR development team. They came up with an algorithm in the program that allowed the eyes to blink and move naturally, looking in the direction of sounds. Creeped many of us out at first. Really creeped us out, didn't it? Uncanny Valley stuff. Wow. But we've grown used to it. Okay, sort of used to it. I still am a little weirded out once in a while.
Altspace VR was growing up and about to find a new role for itself by February of 2020. Educators in VR produced a mammoth 6-day educational conference called the Educators in VR International Summit. Across the 6-day, 5-platform event, yes, it was over in 5 different platforms, they hosted over 170 speakers at 150 plus events for an estimated 6,000 attendees. It still remains one of the largest VR conferences of its kind ever held. Then, 48 hours after its last event, the United States and most of the world went into lockdown.
And Altspace changed again.
Indeed, it did, Marcia. Within a very short time, it was flooded. I mean, flooded with people. Normally, there would have been a huge influx of people with new headsets the week after Black Friday, and then again immediately after Christmas. But that holiday flood tended only to last until February.
Altspace VR became a pandemic oasis for many enterprise events. AWE, VR Days, Sundance Films, and other film festivals, International Women's Day, and other conferences streamed in Altspace VR during the pandemic.
2020 wasn't normal for anyone, including Altspace VR. People and companies moved their meetings and events online into Zoom and VR. Big corporate conferences, including Microsoft's Ignite, showed up in Altspace VR first in 2020 with the announcement of Microsoft Mesh, showing off amazing strides in both virtual and augmented realities to thousands of participants in Altspace from around the world. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
With the pandemic lasting not just a few weeks, people thought, Burning Man, one of the largest outdoor real-world events, decided to bring their event online into Altspace VR, breaking more social VR records in doing so.
Burning Man brought artists together from around the world to work with some of the most amazing world building artists here in Altspace VR and to create some seriously incredible worlds and production events.
It expanded even more the next year. And last year, the production was even so vast and impactful, the group formed the BRCVR company and are now working with the UN and other major companies in international agencies on major metaverse art installations and events.
With all of this history, let's not forget that March 10th is not the first time Altspace VR shut down. In August 2017, Altspace announced that it was closing with very short notice.
Chris of the LGBTQ plus and friends group often shares the story of arriving in Altspace VR near to the closing in the last few hours, only to find the campfire still running and no one inside. He contacted his friends and they joined him. News came out the next day that Microsoft had swooped in and purchased Altspace VR for an undisclosed amount.
Founder Eric Romo secured a job with Facebook, leaving the Altspace VR company without an owner or legal representative. Katie Law, or Keegan as we knew her, had been working with Altspace social media and knew how to talk about VR. So she became the face of Altspace VR with the official title Program Owner, and life resumed in Altspace VR.
Well, sort of. Their first task was to move from a community and worlds platform to a strictly events platform, putting world building back into beta. Altspace VR seemed destined to only become a social events platform for adults. And the world builders pushed back.
Though still in beta, it is still in beta, world builders rebelled by pushing the limits of world building to new heights. In the last few years, we've been so inspired by the worlds created by Nico and Shushu, Carnivore, Nira, Dargan. The list is so long of these groundbreaking people that are they're pushing all the limits, absolutely pushing the limits.
Mhm.
Lots of hearts for that one. Events still rule, but worlds that builders fought for gained equal attention. Many world builders have gone on to careers in metaverse and world building and development. My hats off.
Businesses and careers were made here in Altspace. Evolve VR developed and grew here to eventually be purchased by Trip. Accenture thrived and expanded. Burning Man's production team became BRCVR. Educators and VR Meetups became a membership training organization with over 4,000 members. So many people found a home here and found a way to monetize livelihoods in VR. Just amazing.
And our community will continue to thrive as pioneers and innovators, as we've always been.
March 10th is less than 6 days away.
5.
You okay, Marcia?
It doesn't seem possible.
Yes, this week Altspace VR is closing. We are full of all kinds of emotions, aren't we?
This is an emotional time for all of us, but there is so much hope before us too, as well.
In keeping with that, we'd like to ask all of our volunteers, our moderators, our script writers, and especially our amazing producer, Mark, to join us in front of the cameras. And please take a bow. Lisa, Bart, Serenity, please come join us. You should be able to get up here. I know Matthew and the rest are coming up. Without these people, we could not have done this. So everybody find a spot, get up here so you can get in the camera. Come on in. Come on, Ancient. Get down here. Come on. Seriously. Yep. And make sure, everybody unmutes and does what they need to do. Okay. These people have been our backbone. They've been our heart. They've been our inspiration. And most of all, they've been our tools. I cannot say that because they have done things and pushed limits and helped us out in so many incredible ways. We don't even have Mark. Do you even have words of thank you? I mean, I don't even know what to say.
I mean,
Oh, Mark, your headset. Of all days, your headset to go bluey.
yes. I mean, every weekend, I'm going to just look down and see if it just works.
Yes.
But
Nope, it stopped again. Oh, God.
it
Of all
amazes me
days.
every weekend that the vent space is always.
You're muted again. It's always. Come on, Mark. You can do it.
There's 68 people in the event right now.
I know.
So I thought I'd say that quick before it does it. But yes, it does amaze me that for something that I
Come on. Oh.
in a bathtub nearly
He came up with the idea in the bathtub.
came out of it in the bathtub, and I thought, this is what people need. I didn't think it would last this long. Honestly, I didn't think. As we said at the beginning, that.
Oh.
But
Luckily, we
they
had,
never lasted. So for this event to last is astounding. And I
It
thank
is.
you all for that. Because without you, we wouldn't be here today to see the end of Altspace VR.
And Mark, so many of us know your story, but more than anything, we know your heart. And you have given us your heart every week for all of these years. So thank you so much for everything that you have done. We love you. Okay, are you ready, Mark?
I'm ready, but I don't know if my headset's ready. So let's go.
I know. We're going to do this. Okay. Steph has prepared a special piece for many of the people that are up here on the stage to help us express our feelings about Altspace VR, and I love that we're doing this together. Marcia, you want to start us?
Well, folks, we've had a time to reflect on what Altspace VR has meant for each of us.
We've had time to be sad, angry, nostalgic.
We've taken the time to remember and travel through our favourite worlds. Start again. We've taken the time to remember. I don't know where I left off.
Start over. Just start over.
I'm not going to bring my head. I'm going to bring.
I know.
Right. Behave. We've taken the time to remember and travel through our favourite worlds one last time to collect old and new memories to carry with us.
We've made plans that only happen through the loss of what came before.
Soon we will broaden our horizons beyond our home here and head into an even larger universe of possibilities.
But right now, this last time, We can celebrate what can't be lost.
Dear friends, we've met.
Memories we've built.
Stories that might never have been shared.
The time we might never have had together.
Lost to all of us if there had never been such a place as Altspace VR.
Thank you, AltspaceVR.
I'm hoping somebody's getting a picture of us up here. Stay up, Steph.
Keep those emojis coming for a minute. Oh, I got one.
Wow.
Nice.
Yay. Somebody get
Thanks
pictures of
for
us
the
up here. Thank you.
memories.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome to stay, or you can head off the stage. Wow. This is amazing. I cannot believe that this is the moment, man. This is the moment, Mark. As we said in the beginning of the show, this is not goodbye. It's till we meet again. Mark's news and updates will continue in Engage XR starting April 7th. The studio is already engaged, so it will be like coming home.
Remember, we have our own closing party at Club Euphoria March 9th to celebrate our history and our friendships. Don't miss it.
Thank you for joining us here on News and Updates every Saturday since 2018. It has been an honor and a privilege to bring you the news every week to keep you updated on what's happening in Altspace VR and the metaverse.
We do this for you for free to help you be better informed. You're volunteers and community members, not Altspace VR employees.
If you get bored on your Saturdays or any time and wish to catch up on the history of Altspace VR and the show, check out our past episodes on YouTube and subscribe to News and Updates Discord.
Mark, do you have anything else to add? Okay, take us out, Karen.
Okay, Laurel. Good things are on the horizon, everybody, and we will continue to share them with you. As we say every week, stand tough, stand up, and most of all, and especially now in these uncertain times, please, please be safe wherever you are in the world.
Yay, thank you, everyone.
Happy trails
Yay! We did a thing!
to you
Thank you, Mark.
until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling.
Leslie.
Hi, Lance.
Leslie.
Oops. Thank you to everyone who is in room 3 and room 2. We are so glad you're with us. We're going to be disappearing on you. Thank you, everyone.
Robert.